Yo, what's up YouTube? It's your boy Kurasagi here, back with another video, and today I have for you my top 5 most disappointing games of 2023. First things first, let's go over the rules. Number 1, I have to have played the game this year, which means there may be some really bad games that came out this year. If they're not on this list, it's because I didn't waste time playing them. Number 2, I will try to stick to games that release close to this year, if not, maybe a little bit further back if we had a slow year. Number 3, if a game is on this list, it does not automatically mean it's a bad game. So don't get upset with me if a game you like is on this list. Number 4, I will go in order from 5 to 1, 5 meaning the least disappointing and 1 meaning the most disappointing. And that being said, let's jump into the list, starting with number 5. Number 5, Piece Odyssey. Piece Odyssey is their shot at making a One Piece turn-based RPG, which if you know me, I love turn-based RPGs. I also love the anime One Piece, even though I haven't caught up all the way in it yet. So I had to give this game a try. Visually, this game looks amazing, especially Nami and Robin, if you know what I mean. The animations are perfect. The combat is good too. It plays like Dragon Quest, but they have this rock, paper, scissors system which spices up the combat a little bit. There is also a fast forward to speed things up in combat as well. That being said, I wish there was one for the open world because this game drags. It's hard to say who this game is for. Fighting the same bad guy from the anime is kind of boring when you know how the story goes because we've watched the anime. While anything that's not from the anime just feels like filler, like they just threw it in. It really doesn't belong there. So, after fighting the same small enemies 100 times, this gets old real quick. Also, the humans growl like monsters in the open world? I don't know, man. Just doesn't feel right. You start the game with like 80% of your crew at almost full power, which feels like you're starting an RPG 1/4 of the way through already. Of course they nerfed your character after the first tutorial boss like they always do in these games where they start you off way too strong, which is just cliche at this point. I got a little past the crocodile fight and stopped playing. I just got tired of it. In the end, it's a good looking game. It just felt kind of slow and samey for me, and that's why it's the number 5 pick. Number 4. This one hurts me to put it here, but it's just how I felt. Final Fantasy 16. Final Fantasy 16 is the next Final Fantasy RPG made by Nakio Yoshida, which is the creator of Final Fantasy 14, so I had high hopes for this game. The game looks pretty next-gen with crazy graphics, exclusive only to the PlayStation 5. I think eventually they released it for PC. It performs pretty well with a lot more settings than I'm used to on a PlayStation game. Music is amazing, of course, without a doubt, because, I mean, if you play Final Fantasy 14, you already knew this music was going to be ridiculous. The best part of this game, to be honest, but even with all that, it just doesn't feel right to me. The game looks good, but sometimes it's a little too flashy for me. They give you a dodge, which, you know, you have to perfect time the dodge in combat, and with all the flashy moves going on and you have to be able to see the enemy attacks, it's very difficult to perfect dodge and attack, and with all this flashy colors and stuff going on, I feel like it's kind of conflicting design. Also, the fights feel super boring to me when the combat just turns into wait for the enemy to attack, dodge, counter attack, wait for the enemy to attack, dodge, counter attack, over and over and over. None of the enemies change this approach when you're fighting as far as normal enemies are concerned. Speaking of non-normal enemies, the icon fights are amazing.
They are the best thing in this game. But the regular fights just start to feel samey after a while. For example, let me give an example of a game, let's say Kingdom Hearts per se. In Kingdom Hearts, a little bit into the game, you end up running into these fat Heartless, and the fat Heartless, you can't hit them from the front. So you have to maneuver behind them and attack them from behind. And this kind of changes how you approach an enemy. There is no enemy like that in Final Fantasy 16. Most of the enemies are either grounded enemies, you know, like your dogs, your humans, lizards, dragons, whatever. The hovering enemies, like your Allagan, futuristic enemies, or your bombs, or enemies that just straight up fly, like the dragonflies and the bees and that you fight a ton of. Well, later on, there are mages that put shields on people, but this doesn't really change how you fight. It just changed how you prioritize who you fight first. So you go for the mages that heal, or the mages that put shields on first before going for the other enemies. It also doesn't help that Clive is the main character and the only character that you play. All of the characters that join your party are AI controlled, and you have no way to customize their gear, their attack patterns, or anything. Even the little customization they give Clive felt like a waste of time. Crafting felt like you were just chasing a bigger number. Leveling didn't feel impactful at all, and the form changes with the icon powers just made you feel like you were playing Dante from the Devil May Cry series, which is not really a bad thing. It just didn't feel Final Fantasy to me. They do give you the ability to respec your skill tree at any time for free, but I didn't like doing this because it took away all feel of progression to me. Because it's like, okay, you get all these skills that you want on your character. Oh, you got some new skills, but you don't have enough points. Well, you can respec and try that stuff out, but you lose the stuff that you had before. This killed it for me. Then there's the side quests. Oh, God. The side quests felt so unimportant, and the NPCs talked way too much. Also, the rewards you got for the side quests felt meaningless. Like, you would get, like, sometimes you get, like, no experience or, like, 10 gil, some crafting material. Oh, my God. The way the game works is if you don't do the side quests when they're available, it locks you out of doing them, which sucks. So you felt like you had to do it, but it just didn't feel rewarding. As far as the game's atmosphere, the game just felt dark and depressing. I stopped a little after the clone fight, if you know what fight I'm talking about. So, in the end, for me, just watching someone else go through the game was fine for me, because this game feels more like a movie and then a game. Like, the game part of it just didn't feel video gamey enough for me. I don't know. And then there's the end of the game, which, to try to keep this spoiler free, Clive does not get a happy ending. If you played, you know what I'm talking about. All in all, there is not just one thing that makes this game good or bad. I'm just disappointed that even with my low expectations of this game, it didn't live up to it. But it only gets worse from here, folks. Number 3. Tactics Ogre Reborn. Oh boy, this game. A friend of mine talked me into playing this game, saying it was better than Final Fantasy Tactics, my favorite game of all time. So I had to try it out. I mean, going into this, I had no nostalgia for this game at all, because I don't remember playing it until I started playing it, and then I unlocked that core part of my memory that I was blocking off. Oh man, even with that, I don't remember why I actually stopped playing the game, but I digress. The game is kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics in some ways, but not in the ways that I wanted it to be, as in customization. There are no subclasses in this game, so you can't carry over skills from other classes. In order to change to a class, you need a job ticket, which some can be bought. Others, you have to get it as quest rewards for defeating that exact job in the quest. Of course, some classes are locked behind, game progression. You don't get into later in the game. And other classes are only available for main characters. The whole game is voiced very well, which helped me connect to some of the characters a lot easier, except to my stupid sister. The sister in the game, not, yeah, anyways. Yeah, I don't know if I want to talk about it, but she made some stupid decisions in this game that I just could not wrap my hand around. Why the hell did it feel so stupid to me? Anyways, the combat is tactics-like with an added little slice of life things like the fast forward button to speed up combat, auto battle, so you can just auto battle through your level grindings, which is great, and something new called the Chariot Torrot, which lets you rewind and try other routes in battle. Like if you were to say go and fight some enemy on one side of the map and another enemy snuck around you and killed your teammate, you could rewind to that point before you fought that enemy and go and fight that other enemy to save your teammate. There are limitations to this, of course, like you can't go too far back, but just giving you that ability just made it a lot easier for somebody new coming into the game. They could, you know what, I don't want to do that, let me rewind, do something else. It's really good. The game has that it gets good later problem. Which was a big problem for me because I uninstalled this game twice before I beat it, which means I installed it 3 times. I missed some important quests because I didn't read the warden reports, not knowing that I needed to. Also, there is a level scaling in this game, as well as a level cap that raises every chapter or so, which feels like overkill. Even at max level with the best gear, none of the main story fights were easy. It doesn't make sense to have the enemies scale to your level, but then also cap out how fast you can level. It's just too much. I think the game is a little too hard for casual people trying to play this game. I had to cheese the final boss just to beat it because it was so cheap. In the end, this game is not the tactics I was looking for, and that's why it takes the number 3 spot. Number 2. Yeah, these next two. Oof. Number 2 is Wild Hearts. Wild Hearts is a game I had no plans on even playing until a friend of mine talked me into playing it, saying, "Oh, it's the next Monster Hunter, bro." So we ended up playing it. The gameplay for this game is actually really fun and even funner with friends. The thing that makes it different from Monster Hunter is kind of cool. They have these, I think they're called karakuri, that you use for building. And building the karakuri is very fast and fun. You can build camps, you can build mounts, you can build zip lines that let you traverse easily through the map. You can build karakuri weapons or traps to help you stop the enemy from moving around too much. You can even build farms anywhere. Like, all this stuff can be built anywhere. You can build farms anywhere that'll make gathering easy for you. It auto gathers. And as fun as all of this sounds, the problems with this game really held it back. First, this is a $70 game. Straight up. We have this as a joke anytime a $70 game comes out and it's like mid or not good. you can't charge somebody that much for a game and not expect people to have high expectations. You also needed an EA account to play, which is just a headache to go through. The game has many bugs, which I'm probably playing in the background of this video right now. Your allies can mess up your Karakuri building combos, or they can just take your Karakuri from you as you're building it if they're too close to you. And for some reason, they locked half the weapons behind story progression. The weapon I ended up playing was one of those weapons that was locked behind story progression. It doesn't really make sense. Just have all the weapons available at the start, whatever. Also, friends turning in quests in multiplayer can lock you out of the quest line permanently. We had this issue with me and Wiggy where I think he was locked out of some quest that I had. I was able to get to part 3 of the quest, but he was locked out after part 2, which is crazy. Party members, meaning any random person you invite to your quest, can also take anything from your camp or farms. So all your farm supplies are not safe from friends or foes. That being said, there's a point in the story where you end up fighting at your home base and the monster destroys your base supplies and you end up losing everything. All the materials I saved up were gone, which is just ass. Oh yeah, that boss fight. If you want to refight that boss, you cannot skip the cutscenes. You have to sit there and watch the cutscene. So if the fight is 10 minutes, if you're good, it's going to take you 18 minutes regardless, because you cannot skip the cutscenes at all, which is crazy in a Monster Hunter-like game where you have to constantly fight the same monsters to get all their parts, to get equipment and armor. Then there's the final boss, which shits on everything this game teaches you. It just sucks. The boss is flying the whole fight, and you cannot knock it down, despite them teaching you to use your Kurasagi to build devices to hook and pull the enemy down. I think there are small points where the boss gets knocked down, but he does not stay down for long. Then, for some reason, they had the nerve to make a part 2 to that final boss where you end up fighting a Souls-like boss, which is piss easy. I went from not planning to play this game to getting it, to liking it, then hating it. This is one of the few games on this list I hope they do try again. They just need to polish it up a bit more before release. And now for the number 1 spot on my top most disappointing games of 2023. And that game is...
Blessed Mother, save us.
Yep. Number 1, Diablo 4. You know I had to do it to them. 17 damage druid and all. Okay, but seriously, the story is pretty good. Cutscenes look good. I mean, the game itself visually looks great. It has this dark theme down really well. The gameplay at the start is fun. They decided to go with an open world playstyle, and the whole game can be played with multiplayer, so you can play the entire game with your friends. They even have open world bosses, which are pretty fun to fight. But that's about it for the positive things that I can say about this game. This game has so many problems. You need to make a Battle.net account to play this game. Again, it's another $70 game, always online as well. This game is full of bugs and lag. Like, when you're trying to leave the main hub area, you get rubber band back, or like when you're on your mount, just, ugh. All the mobs also sync to your level, so it makes you feel like you're getting weaker as you level up, because it doesn't feel like you're leveling up, it feels like all the enemies are leveling up and then you're just getting a skill point to deal with them.
As you level and feel like you're finally getting to the point of feeling strong, it's time for you to jump to the next world tier, which will make you feel like trash all over again. Oh, then you have to pay to respec, which serves no purpose to the player. And I don't know why they have so many stupid damage modifiers for your gear, like damage versus close, damage versus crowd controlled, damage with basic, and damage on Tuesday nights, etc, etc. You get it. It's bloated. Not to mention that resistances don't work at all. So if you had it on your gear, it's just a waste of space. Then the nail in the coffin, the big nerf patch. They nerfed everybody and everything. All damage, all characters got nerfed. To the point where you logged in and you couldn't even clear the content that you could before because they nerfed you so hard. Then they have season passes and microtransactions in this game, like a whole shop. You could buy a bunch of crap. They added seasons to this game like they had in Diablo 3, where you have to restart with a completely new character just in order to try out the seasons mechanics. I couldn't be bothered. I tried it and I just didn't care to level all over again, especially after they nerfed experience and everything. It just made it more of a grind. It didn't help that I didn't really have a class that spoke to me in this game. In D3, I played Crusader, which it made no sense to not have Crusader in this game. It's like, why would you come out with a sequel that doesn't have the same classes or more than the previous version? It just, you know, eventually they're probably going to sell it to us later as DLC. I mean, I say that jokingly, but I'll look back at this video, they'll probably end up doing it. This just makes me sick. This game is the perfect example of what's wrong with gaming nowadays, with this game being always online live service bullshit. They will patch this game to make it better, so most of the stuff I said in this video will be null and void, because to them, it doesn't matter how a game releases, it matters how they patch it later. But I say, if no one is around to play your patched game, was it ever good? I don't know, I'm being stupid. This game has way more problems than I stated in this video, but I'm just tired of talking about it. And that's why Diablo 4 is my most disappointing game of 2023. That being said, thanks for watching this video. I don't know if I would do these every year, but it kind of depends on how many games I play, if I play enough games to even make a list like this, and if they were good or not. But anyways, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.